Yo, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make this video, but I wasn't sure in what direction to go with. I kind of wanted to do like a review video on the car, but at the same time talk about like a few things I love about the car and a few things that I dislike about the car. But it was kind of hard for me to dictate if I really wanted to make several videos on this, so I'm kind of debating on just doing one full video on things that I like about it, you know, my overall review of this car since I've had it. So let's go ahead and jump out of the car and show you what the car looks like. All right guys, so here is my 2006 INFINITI M45 Sport. There are several different models of the M45. They all look pretty close to the same, but the Sport does have this lip kit on it with the front lip right here, the side skirt, and the rear portion of the car, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, also has a lip on it as well. The Sport also comes with something called RAS, which is a rear active steering. Only the Sport comes with it, and the base models do not. There are other models of this car as well. This car comes with a 4.5 liter V8 engine, which produces 330 horsepower and about 340 pound-feet of torque. It is a little bit quicker than its, I guess you could say, brother, which is the M35. The M35 has a 3.5 liter that the 350Z has as well, but they also have different models of the M35 that have different engines in it. So if you guys know a little bit about the 350Z, I know I have a 370Z that has a 3.7 liter VHR engine. There are M35s that come with an HR engine that I actually didn't know about until I started doing a little bit more research. But there's a newer M35 that has the HR, which is also a 3.5 liter, but there's also a rev up that the earlier 350Zs came with as well, that the M35 has as well, which is still 3.5 liter, but it only has like one intake. I think it's still on the right side, just like the V8 has it right here, as where the newer engine, the like revised motor and the upgraded one, the HR has two intakes on each side. I'll show you the engine on this car in a little bit once I talk about the exterior. I did actually replace the engine on this car with a newer one. The engine right now currently has about 60,000 miles, but the car overall has about, I would say, 220,000 miles on the chassis itself. So it does have quite a few miles, but it's not in that bad of a condition. There are a few scratches here and there on the car. I think on this side it has a dent, but I kind of popped it out a little bit already, but you can still kind of see it on the left side where the gas tank is at. But overall it's in really good shape. The previous motor that this car had, it had some oil consumption, which was pretty bad, and now this car has a little bit of oil consumption, but not close to anything what it had before. I think like very close to the oil change, I maybe have to add like less than half a quart, so it's not bad at all. So it has a spoiler and also the bottom lip as well. Right there you can see that's how the back looks. It looks really good with the lip. I do really like the overall look of the car. Even with the stock wheels, it does look really good. I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. And I love the body style. It's a four-door sedan. There's a few things that you guys should watch out for when it comes to picking up an M45 specifically, and or even an M35. They are older cars, so are going to be things that you need to replace on it to ensure it's running, you know, at its full potential or without any issues. Let's go ahead and actually go into the engine bay, and I'll show you guys that really quick. All right, so here is my engine bay. There's a few things done to it. I did add, you know, a few app modifications, but for the most part, everything else is stock. I just have my oil catch can and then my intake. But other than that, you know, nothing is really different on the engine itself. But here you can see that this is a 4.5 liter V8, which looks really good, looks really sick. I love the design of the motor and actually how easy it is to work on these cars. I honestly didn't really have much issues when it came to replacing the engine. And when it comes to certain things that can break on this car, they're all pretty accessible and you can get to them really easily. If you are looking into an M45, one thing you should for sure look out for is going to be oil consumption. It doesn't happen right away. Some oil consumption is fine, but there's a difference between, you know, having almost to put in a full quart at 500 miles versus, you know, at almost your oil change, you have to add just a little bit in there. You would really have to drive a car to figure out if there's a lot of oil consumption or not. Alright guys, my camera actually overheated, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up the video at my house now, and it's actually not that hot, so it shouldn't overheat anymore. But going back to what I was talking about earlier, the M45s, they do have oil consumption, and from what I've seen in the forums, honestly everybody has even just a little oil consumption. If somebody says that they don't have oil consumption on the car, I don't think that they're actually checking the car, or they're not driving it enough in order to be able to notice it. But let's go back into the engine bay really quick. So with the engine, I have noticed a few things that you guys may want to watch out for. One thing for sure that I have noticed that may go out on these cars is either going to be the thermostat not working properly, and also the housing itself may crack on this portion right here where it's clamped down onto on the inside. So that's one thing that you will want to change out on these cars if you do get one. It's something that I noticed. Even on the newer motor, it did look like it was getting a little bit old, and it started to kind of like chafe away at the middle portion. And then right here on the other motor that I had, it completely cracked off, like it was completely gone. It was corroded and just broken into little pieces. Other than that, when it comes to the engine, I have noticed that the pulley does make noise, especially when I turn on the compressor. It will make some noise as well. With the compressor off, it doesn't make any noise at all. The engine is actually pretty solid. You know, they do get old over time, just like any other engine. Parts wear out, so you have to replace things. The fan control module will go bad over time, and it will stay in a position where it's consistently running the fans instead of turning it off. If your fans are running all the time, you will most likely have a bad fan control module, and you need to replace that. I did have to replace mine. This is actually a newer one. Another thing that I did notice with this car is going to be the coolant level. You have to ensure that you are checking the coolant level when it's completely flat and or the car is at a slant going like this. The car cannot be going at a slant going downward, because then the coolant will go to this side over here, allowing it to drip out, and then you will have low coolant levels. Same thing with the oil. Never check the oil when it's at a slant either way, because if it's slanted like this, how it is right now, going downhill, then the oil will be extremely low. And if I have it the other way, then the oil will read a little bit higher. So the car does have to be completely leveled when you're checking the oil level on the M45. So keep that in mind as well. There's something that I noticed on these cars. I think this is for a lot of cars, but I think because of the sump, how different it is in the front, the sump, the oil pan is very bulky at the bottom, which has a huge like dip, and then it flattens out at the end. And I think that's why it's such a huge difference when you're checking the oil when the car is slanted at certain angles. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. I have heard of issues with the cylinder A going out, and usually people replace the spark plugs and the coil packs, but I haven't really had that issue on my end. It's been pretty good. I actually replaced the gaskets on the car, or the valve cover, so I haven't really ran into any issues when it comes to that. Everything else has been pretty solid with this car. You just gotta check your levels to make sure everything's good, and you shouldn't really have any issues. So I guess that's gonna be a dislike and like about this car. Is the motor. The motor, I hate that it has oil consumption, because I honestly, in my previous cars, even like the 370Z and also on my Ultima, my Maxima, I never really had to check the oil level. And now with this car, I'm constantly checking it like every single week. But my previous motor, I had to check it daily. So this is something that you just have to do, which could be a dislike for you guys, that you have to be constantly checking your oil, which can take you maybe a few seconds. I think the motor is fantastic. It is for the most part very reliable. I haven't really had any issues. I think overall it's a well-built motor that you won't really have much issues with it as long as you take care of it and you do your oil changes consistently, you know, coolant flushes, things like that. As long as you take care of it, you should have no problems with it. So now that we're kind of done talking about the motor, I will say that it is a fantastic motor, but something that I kind of dislike about it is I wish the car was a little bit faster. Even though it is a V8, I do feel like that my 370Z, which is a 3.7 liter, is actually faster than the M45. Of course, the M45 is a bigger car, it's a 4-door, so it does weigh a little bit more. But I still feel like even though it's a V8, I feel like it should still be a little bit faster. You can for sure feel the torque difference on the M45 versus the 370Z, but the 370Z does for sure feel a lot faster because it is lighter, it picks up a lot quicker. So I will say that about the M45, which is something that I'm on the fence of like dislike and like. Like the motor is fantastic, it sounds good, the torque is there, it sounds nice when you add an exhaust to it as well. You remove like the mufflers, it sounds good. I love the V8 sound. I just wish it had a little bit more power, if I'm being honest with you. But I think that's honestly it when it comes to the motor, things that you guys should really look out for on the M45. So let's go ahead and go into the interior of the car. All right, so when it comes to the interior of the M45, I honestly don't have like too many complaints on it. It is a really well built, beautiful interior of the M45. I love how big it looks in here, how spacious it is. The interior is nice as well. There's a few things that I would change. Like, I do not like the beige color on the sides right there. I do want to paint that black. Overall, the interior is like beautiful in my opinion, for its age at least. Because of course, if you compare it to a newer car right now, they're gonna be a lot, better condition versus, an 06 M45. But if you think about how old this car is, being a 2006, the interior is honestly beautiful. It's really nice. One thing that I didn't notice about some of the M45s is that these middle portion right here on the steering wheel starts to crack. I actually put a cover on mine, that way it doesn't look, so bad. But you can see right there that like half of it is ripped right there. And I use this to kind of cover it up so it doesn't look as bad. So now it looks a lot better than what it looked like before. But it's still something that you will notice on the M35 and M45s is this like ripping right here. Another thing that I did notice is that the dash will eventually end up not working properly on you. And what I mean by that is you'll start to see some like cracks on it. Let me turn the car on. And then another thing about the motor, it sounds really good, and it's something that you can't really complain about once you add like an exhaust to it. Now, what I mean by the screen will start to like go bad, you guys can kind of see it right there. That little thing next to the P, eventually it will start to spread out and affect the entire screen right there on that side. So it's something that I've actually noticed with quite a few M35s and M45s. The screen will start to go bad, and it's something that you guys have to kind of look out for on these cars. When it comes to the screen itself, I do really like the 08 and above screens. They have this blue color like you can see here. I actually upgraded mine, but the 06 and the 07 is like yellow and it looks really outdated. It looks bad in my opinion, but with this one it looks a lot better. So that's one dislike about the 06 version, and the 07 versus like the 08 and 09 is the screen. That's one dislike, but the newer one is a lot better. Now, when it comes to the inside of the M45, as I mentioned, it's huge. I love the space in here. It looks really nice. You can't really complain. As a compartment right there in the back that you can open and access the back. It's just a small space. I wish it kind of reclined forward, but this one doesn't. It's just attached right there to the back. But I wish the whole thing would recline forward. I think the Q50 does that, and a few other models, but only that middle portion opens right there. That's one dislike, I guess you could say, about the M45. But the trunk space is huge on these cars, so that's one thing that I do like about this car, is the amount of space that you have in the trunk. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the interior. Right now, I don't know if I'm just having issues with my AC compressor. For some reason, overheats the car, so it only happens when the AC compressor is on. I don't know if when I took it to the shop, they maybe did something where they overloaded the compressor and it messed it up, because I honestly cannot figure out why it's overheating when the compressor is on. I don't know if this is for many M45 owners. It's just something the car does when it is hot outside. But I noticed that once it gets over like 110 degrees Fahrenheit outside and the AC compressor is running like at full blast, if you run the car for a while, like going maybe 80 miles per hour on the highway, the temperature gauge will start to rise. And I tested it out already. I went ahead and turned off the AC compressor when I was going 80 miles per hour at the same time that it was getting hot, and it stopped and it dropped it back down. And I did that multiple times to see if it was actually the AC compressor, and it indeed was. And I'm not sure why it's doing that. So if anybody knows, let me know. I know it has to do with something with the AC compressor, because that's the only time that it's doing it. I actually enjoy the infotainment system for being an 06. You can check out a lot of information. Like right here, if you click on the info, you go to maintenance, you can click on your fuel economy, your tire pressure as well. It'll tell you once you start driving. My sensors do actually work on this car, so I know that for sure works. You can also go back and you can go into your maintenance, and you can see, when you have to do your next oil level, oil filter, your tire rotation, stuff like that. It's really useful. And you also have maps. On mine, I actually don't have it for some reason. It's not working. I think it needs a CD, but it does have that information if you want it. The control units for the AC are cool as well. You actually have dual you actually have two different sides where you can control the AC. So you can have like this side 75, and then the other side you can have it at 60, which is actually really cool. It's something that I actually enjoy. My partner does as well. So if like they want to be, you know, at 70 degrees, I want to be at 60, you can do that. So I thought that was a really cool feature as well. You also have heated and cooled seats in the M45, which honestly, for being an 06, not bad. That's really sick that they were able to do that at that time, just having heated and cooled seats on a 2006 car. So I thought that was pretty cool, and this car was for sure ahead of its time. Another thing that I actually enjoy on the M45 that you guys may think is kind of weird, but whenever you brake on this car and there's somebody in front of you that's like braking and you gotta brake hard as well, the seat actually like reclines up and it pulls you back. I know that cars actually are supposed to do that. They just like, you know, tighten up, but you can actually hear this one like pull up and pull you back really hard. I think it's because of this mechanism right here. It just pulls up and it pulls you back into your seat. I thought that was really, really cool. I just thought I'd share that with you guys, and it's something that I actually like about the car. And you know, you guys might think it's weird, but I actually think it's really cool. Alright guys, before I end the video, I want to touch base on a few things that I forgot to add about the M45 that I actually like. I do like, you guys may think that this is like tedious or just something small, but I do actually like that all the windows are automatic. I have seen that in a lot of my previous cars that only like the front windows will be automatic and the rear ones are kind of manual. What I mean by that is usually you just push the button all the way down and let go, and then it'll go all the way down. And then with the manual one, you actually have to like push it, hold it for the window to go all the way down. Once you let go, then it stops. But with the automatic ones, it's not like that. You just push it one time all the way down, let go, and then it automatically goes down. Same thing going back up. I like that. It's something really small, but it's something that I actually really like about the M45. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that the M45 actually, I think both the M45 and the M35 come with a 5-speed automatic transmission. I haven't had any issues with the transmission myself. I actually have an extra one if I ever need to replace the one that I have over there, which actually has a lot more miles than the one that I have over here. The one actually on the car right now has over 200,000 miles versus the one that I have right here has about 60,000. But I do kind of wish that they would have had the 7-speed automatic mounted to that one, like the other models have, like the Q50, even the 370Z, that 7-speed automatic ones. They have a 7-speed, and I wish that the M45 would have, but of course that was an older model, and at that time they didn't have the 7-speed. They didn't really come out with the 7-speed until they had the like 09 370Z one. That actually came with the 7-speed. But it'd be interesting to see, you know, a manual transmission or even a 7-speed automatic mounted to the M45 or M35. I think it would change the feel of the car and make it even a little bit better, because the 7-speed does feel a little bit better in my opinion, because I've had it in the Q50, I've had it in several cars, and I think it is a lot better in my opinion. But I think that's honestly it when it comes to the M45, my overall review of it. Honestly, I love the car. There's not a day that really goes by where I say I hate this car, I wish I didn't get it. I actually really enjoy this car and I love it. I love how big it is, that it has a V8, sounds, you know, beefy. It's an overall beautiful car as well once you do the right mods to it, which I do want to make a video on as well, is, you know, all the mods that I have done to the M45. Once I get it to a point where I'm happy and I want to make that video, I will do it for you guys, for those that are interested. Which actually leads me to another thing that I actually dislike about the M45 is the amount of modification support that there is for this platform. There's not a lot. It's very minimal. A lot of things that you want to do to this car have to be like universal or custom. I just got a oil cooler on the M45. It was a universal one. I mounted it up, worked perfect, but it wasn't specifically made for the M45. So that's just one thing that may be a bummer for a lot of you guys that want to pick up this platform. You know, a lot of things you have to either get OEM, which is original manufacturer, and or you have to do custom. So that's a downfall, but overall it is a beautiful car and not a lot of people have it. And I think that's another reason why I actually really enjoy this car, is because there's not a lot of these cars out there, specifically an M45. You don't see many of these cars out there. I think in my time that I have actually picked up my M45 and actually started looking around to see how many M45s are out there, I've honestly seen like one driving, and that was honestly it. Like I haven't really seen any more, and I've had this car for over a year already. So I do enjoy like how, you know, how kind of rare this car is now. I think now it's getting even rarer because, you know, some people may not want to fix the cars and just get rid of them. From what I've seen and, you know, OfferUp and Facebook marketplaces, people just get rid of these cars once they start having issues with it. But I think it's a really beautiful car in my honest opinion. But yeah, I think I talked a lot in this video, but I think it gives you guys a lot of useful information. If you guys want me to create any more videos on the M45 specifically, make sure to drop them down below. I do have a few more videos that I want to do, mod list. For the Hot Wheel collection, for those of you that are interested in that, I have collected a few more Hot Wheels. You can kind of see them right there, some premiums. I picked up the BRZ, which is that one over there. I can't really zoom in, but it's that one over there. That one's really sick. And I picked up the R30, I think it's R33 from the Fast and Furious, the one where they like drift around it and they go around in Tokyo. I thought that one was really sick. I had to pick that one up. I was really excited about that one. But it is growing, it's continuing to grow. I have a lot of premiums now from what I had before. So it's something that I want to continue to grow. This wall is honestly like completely filled and I'm working on this side over here. And I did clean up the garage a little bit already. I picked up a storage shelf, so I do want to actually, you know, move a bunch of stuff over there, clean it up, and then I actually want to work on a few videos, you know, making the floor look nice, doing some epoxy setup. So that will be coming up hopefully very soon in the future. But that's gonna conclude the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.